In five, four, three, two, one. Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to the Outer Adult Inner Child podcast where I cannot sit properly. Hi.
It's a long time coming. What we are trying to do is trying to upgrade like our setup. So we are hacking stuff. We are trying to like figure out the lighting and the recording and stuff. So please forgive us if you see the different variations in our videos and our sound. We are still trying to figure things out until we find the best setup that works for us and works for you.
Yeah, so I think every video of this or every episode of this is something's going to look slightly different for now.
Yeah.
Right? But I think once we nail it, things are going to get a lot more consistent.
Yep.
And hopefully you are also just here for the ride.
Yeah, like enjoy the ride with us. And maybe one day we will do a free podcast on how to create a podcast.
Sure. Not sure if we're going to be the best people to do it.
We won't be the pro, but I guess like just to share experience, right? So you don't feel alone in doing
We'll do a behind the scenes maybe.
Yeah.
Cool, Pearly. So what will we be talking about today?
I really wanted to talk about how to deal with different family interactions. So background story or like context is right now we are recording it during like the third week of December going into Christmas week. Christmas week is next week. But most probably we are going to release this episode in maybe like Chinese New Year time, like January, February. But in any case, those periods of time actually we deal with a lot of family interactions, parents, siblings, aunties, uncles, and cousins. Good interactions, maybe not so great interactions. So I think that's what I want to talk about a little bit more. So so that we can process it, but at the same time, for you guys who are listening to maybe not feel alone in the difficulty or maybe in the ease of dealing with the different family interactions and family dynamics that's happening.
Yeah, because I do believe I think as much as sometimes, even I personally feel that, oh, my family is slightly different. I have this weird interaction with my family or this like very specific scenario with my family. It is also very likely that someone out there also feels this way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yes, I think like you said, very much for us to process these things and kind of figure out better ways or healthier ways to kind of deal with it, but also kind of putting it out into the world for that discussion to happen within your own families or within your own friend groups, to see, like maybe some things aren't that different among different people, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess before we even get to that, you wanted to say, just how's life, right?
How's life? Life has been really hectic the past 1 to 2 weeks. So we haven't been recording for the past 2 weeks, I think. But 2 weeks plus. And we had like things nonstop with like your life and my life. And it's been tiring.
Yeah, a lot of things have happened in my 2 or 3 weeks.
So I know what's the news, but anyways.
we can leave that part off.
Okay. So my life has just been a lot of work related stuff, both my full-time job and I'm doing my master's in counseling. So I'm trying to I'm starting to see clients, and that takes a lot of time and preparation, time spent during the session and also post session, right? To just be with myself. I'm a very emotive person as well. So I think I absorb emotion and energy a lot. So even after the session, I feel very tired. I feel very exhausted from it. So it takes time to recuperate and then it goes again. So that is what has been happening.
Sorry, just sidetracking. Interesting question, I guess. Like, is being too emotive as a counselor usually a problem as well?
Very good question, and I'm still trying to figure that out. I think it's a balance because being emotive and being empathetic, I think that really helps you to connect with other people, being like that human connection, right? But I think being also too empathetic, you feel emotions a lot, and if you don't know how to draw the line or the boundary, and you don't take up another person's burden.
Mm.
I think that's the boundary that counselors or people who deals with other humans need to draw, right? Like you can care for them, you can feel for them, but the burden is not yours to carry.
Got it.
And I think I am still trying to figure out that I'm still trying to toe the line, because because I'm still new in this field, right? To actually practice. So I'm trying to figure out that boundary and that line.
Cool. Yeah, because I always hear people who are getting in counseling or getting into just being a therapist as well, right? They would say like, "Oh, I can't deal with it because like if they cry, I also cry," and like they just don't know how to deal with taking on that emotion.
Yeah, and that was like my biggest fear, because I can cry from like the simplest, like the cutest pet video, or like Thai advertisements are like the craziest advertisement that they just pull at your heartstring. So I typically cry at that, but obviously then I have to learn how to control that lah. Right?
Yeah. For context, she also cried when I stole her brownie at one point.
Yeah.
Was it brownies? Yeah.
No, it was a different pastry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, it was like a what's that chocolate pastry again?
Yeah, a pina chocolate.
Pina chocolate. Yeah.
Context. I bought like a whole box of pastries, and I separated, and I gave the whole other office the other pastries. I only kept one for myself in a box, and I put the box it's on the table near my, like, at my bag. And I told people around there, like, hey, like, this is for you guys, but this is for me. And I wanted to keep it for the end of the day, because I really kept it, like, you know how you always keep the best for the last, right? And then it was a really difficult day as well, I think. And then when
I'm just having to sound like such an asshole.
At 4 or 5 p.m. when the day has ended, I went to my pastry box. It's gone. It's fine. Okay, one thing is, like, if you eat it and there's no more pastry, go throw the box, right? But the box is still there. I opened it and it's gone. And then Fabian was like, oh, it's yours, is it?
I didn't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't there when she told everyone else.
Yeah.
In my defense, those people were in the room when I took it.
Yeah, I mean, in your defense as well, like, you didn't know any better, but I was really looking forward.
I'm sorry. Until this day, I'm still paying back for it.
Yeah, I mean, you bought me a few pastries after that already. But you know that feeling that like, like, and I literally cried at the office. And our boss had to, like, stop us, like mediate and be the judge and the jury to see who's at fault. And we are both at fault. I was at fault because I left it it's in the office, even though it's at my bag, but it was still on the table. Fabian didn't know any better, and he's a foodie, he goes around searching for food.
Seafood, I eat food. There was no name. I just didn't know. Yeah.
Like, so I'm a crier. Yes, but I guess now I think I am a little bit better in controlling my emotions, especially during sessions. But it does take a lot of my energy out, because I feel so much after that as well, and I ruminate a lot, asking questions about life, more like the philosophical things of, like, why are there so much unhappiness, and why are people unkind, and all of that. So I think it's not just about, like, the people. Then I think it's also my own thinking and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. I think that's a lot. Like, I guess the question that most going into therapy, or not going into therapy, but trying to practice being a therapist, or trying to practice being a counselor, it is something that everyone has to learn, right? Because they do take, and I hear this from, like, the most experienced counselors as well, most, like, experienced therapists, like, after a couple sessions, you really do need to just decompress.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So no matter how experienced you are, I think it gets to you. Right. It really does.
So, and it's only natural. If it doesn't get to you, that's also, like, another extreme of, I think, being, like, jaded, right? And I don't think that's healthy.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I think when it doesn't get to you, I think your clients will also kind of
feel it.
Yeah. They will also get taken aback. But yeah, no, that's a interesting one as well.
Yeah. So that's about me. What about you? What has been happening?
Busy as well. Busy as well. I'm trying to transition into a different phase of working in a way, right? Going into like being a trainer, going into workshops and trainings and stuff like that, and moving from a more internal operations kind of thing where I'm coordinating teams or coordinating people and focusing on very much on numbers, outcomes. What's the most effective, what's the most efficient way to do the work and create workflows behind that, into now almost completely the other way around, right? Where it is, you're creating content, you're creating things that you're trying to resonate with people. You are trying to create content and create things that people will actually, number one, want to buy, want to listen to, want to actually learn from. Also just being a lot more extroverted, being a lot more charismatic, right? And trying to learn that essentially as well. So it's an interesting thing because like maybe to some people, and it was for me as well, right? Charisma or just overall, how's that word?
The personality,
like that speaker personality, persona, right? It's not. I always thought it sounded like something a lot more innate, something that you just kind of are more gifted at and things like that. But it is definitely something you can learn, definitely something you can practice. I spoke to my boss about this as well, and he was also like, yeah, I think to a certain extent, at least in the beginning of it, it will be performative. It is a performance you kind of have to like put out there to kind of be, right? Be a bit more avant-garde, if you will, right? But I think over time, it genuinely just becomes your personality. Right? So you're doing something new. So that's something I've learned recently as well.
Nice.
But yeah, it's been a learning experience, definitely.
So moving from like the back end work to actually being the front and center of things, but not only just becoming the trainer and the face of it, but you're also helping to build like the content stuff.
Yeah. I think for me as well, like why I want to do this as well is because I want to get into the groundwork, if you will, of trying to make organizational change, right? I think so far with our company, that's what we have been trying to do. But I've only been much more on the back end of things. But I think I do want to see and want to be in the nitty-gritty of like, okay, like these are the things that we can work on. These are the things that's important to you. Like, what can we actually do to slowly make a change? So it is very much on that as well.
Agreed. And I think I agree also, like in terms of the persona, the front that you have to be, that you have to have at when you are at the front, right? It can be performative, but it's a skill. It's a skill set to be able to stand in front confidently, to be able to speak, to be able to enunciate, to be able to draw attention. I think all of that is skill set, and you need to practice those skill set. And hence why maybe in the beginning it feels performative because you're actually like the paksa, right? You have to force yourself to do all of those steps.
And it's funny because like I recently have a conversation with my friends as well, right? Where he was like, oh, like, these are friends and like their significant others, also some of the people that I just like recently just met, right? So they were asking, I was like, what's your MBTI? If you're a psych grad, if you're a psych student, you hate that question because we are all like strictly against the MBTI because it's complete garbage. That's a whole nother story.
Well, like personality, it is a very, very big part of psychology. But again, personality, it is science-backed, it is empirical. However, personality is not set in stone. It is developed, it is sometimes change, the variety changes based on like the situation, the experiences that you go through. So when a lot of people uses a personality type to describe themselves and only that, it feels we believe that it is not accurate because then you tend to box yourself, right? But personality actually grows and changes according to experience and over time.
I think like people like me or people like you as well, I don't know if you experience the same thing, but like because we work in very like fast-paced environments, and I think in the last couple of years there's been a lot of changes, right? In my life, in your life as well. So I think for me, like my personality types, if you will, has changed a lot. I think for the last couple of years, it was always like, it always starts with an introverted kind of thing. But this year, it was quite strongly on the extroversion scale. I still personally believe I'm very much introverted, mainly because I do just get drained after dealing with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Even though I love them to bits, right? I still want to just spend time alone or just maximum with like my partner. That's all it. But people will always look at me and be like, dude, you are not introverted. Dude, you are the most like, you are like super extroverted kind of a person, right?
Yeah, I can imagine people saying that about you.
But I think very much I am a learned extrovert, as you will, right? Like it's just, I think for the most part, extrovertedness is how you kind of survive in this day and age. You have to be a little bit extroverted.
And especially in the work that we do. And
because we're dealing with a lot of people from a lot of different like walks of life or just like different backgrounds and stuff, right? You have to be a bit more out there.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm actually the opposite of you. So I was like extremely extroverted last time. Like I love people. I love like every moment I want to volunteer or hang out with people, talk to people, and have really like good conversations with people. But in the past 1 to 2 years, I have realized that I don't want to talk to people. I have become more introverted. I think a couple of reasons, right? I think one, it comes with age. Extroversion and introversion also changes because of age, because of the stuff that is happening in your life. But number two, maybe the reason why is that also like I have understood myself better. One of the things that I've realized why I was very extroverted and people person is because it was like my learned mechanism, right? Like that's how I have learned to because I think because when I was younger and until now, I am a pretty sad emotive person, and my level of emotions, it's more to the like sad level. So anybody have watched Inside Out? I'm sadness. Like my core person is sadness, right? And I think as I grew up, I have learned to deal with it by being like the positive, happy person and being the person that people can turn to. I was very parentified early on, right? So I've always been the independent, and it was so natural for people to come to me and speak to me and all of that. And I think that was like the people persona. It doesn't mean that I don't love people. I do truly, genuinely enjoy talking, getting to know people. But I think as I grew a little bit older, as I got to know myself a little bit better, I was much more comfortable being alone with myself. I think last time I wasn't comfortable being like alone. I wasn't comfortable in being quiet in my own thoughts. I didn't know how to have fun. Like literally my partner Hisham, he was asking me like, what do you do for fun? I'm like, oh, I like to volunteer. Like, no, that's for other people. What do you do for fun? And I don't know. And I only slowly like rediscovering and discovering like this year. So I think I'm very the opposite of you. Like
that's very opposite. Because I was gonna say as well, like a big part of learn extroversion, at least for me, but like I think as this year in particular, it's actually quite apt because we are speaking about this like at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
But this year in particular, it's also like a big growth thing for me where I understand myself, and that's also helped me become more extroverted instead. So very much the other way around, where like I grew up having my coping mechanism to be like let's be very internal. Let's keep my voice, my outside voices back in the inside. Because when I was younger, I was like a screamer. Right. I run around all the way around. I throw shit everywhere. I cause so many problems, and I'm always getting punished for it, right? By my parents, by my teachers, by whoever. So I think over time, I've just learned to like kind of box that in.
Makes sense.
Right. And over time, like I become very afraid of just interacting with new people because I'm so afraid of like screwing up that relationship with people. Like why not? Why would I even start something if I'm gonna like, screw it up, kind of a thing, right? So I'm very, very closed off for like many, many years. I think this year is where like I decided to also just like, number one, put myself in positions where I am happy. Put myself in places of like things I like to do, and just kind of just like go do it without thinking so much about it. And that has forced me to become yeah, like a bit more my original self in a way. So maybe I am extroverted, but learned introvert,
Introverted, yeah.
but then
Maybe.
relearned extroverted.
Maybe because you said, right, like because of your experiences, you learn how to keep it inside instead because you don't want other people to judge you. You don't want other people. That's the way how you felt for you to feel safe.
Yeah,
It's for you to keep it to yourself.
yeah. And so like that's like the complete opposite for you, right? Where it's like you're originally an introvert, but then like society or just like your coping mechanism was to be like, let's be extroverted to occupy the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
And then you became more extroverted, you go volunteering, you go do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then now you're learning to be to heal your inner child.
I am.
Essentially, right? And
in the past like 1 year and plus, and especially after being with Hisham, like I think I am learning to heal my inner child slowly with therapy, with time, with some tears. Yeah,
I assume a lot of tears.
a lot of tears.
And that's like a good thing, honestly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That's actually very interesting to just suddenly think about as well. So we're processing.
Yeah.
We're processing.
Yeah. And it's like a weird tangent, but it's a cool weird
segue into tangent, but I believe it can segue to what we originally wanted to talk about, right? Like I guess interactions with family or interactions with like extended families in particular, especially we're going into the holiday season.
Yeah.
I think by the time we release this, it's going to be going into like the Chinese New Year kind of seasons as well. And after that, it's going to be like Raya.
Yeah.
So I think it's still going to be quite relevant, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah. So how do you want to start this off, I guess?
Maybe let's share about our typical interactions with our nuclear family, and then a little bit more of our extended family, the closer extended family lah. Obviously, I don't know, some of you guys might have like many extended families, but let's do like the first like nuclear and then like the first circle of like typically and how would you typically have those kind of interactions? You want to go first?
Sure. My interaction with my closer, I guess, immediate family, right? Honestly speaking, I think it's been, although I live with them, I have 3 sisters. I'm the only son, which does not come with all the benefits that you think it would.
You're the youngest also, right?
Yeah, the youngest, the only son and all these kind of things. But I think it also turns out that my parents have given most of their resources to my 3 sisters. So it does leave me a little bit more behind in a way.
Okay.
But I think with that as well, all of my sisters have kind of moved on, either changed to a different country to work, or to follow their partners, spouses, or they just moved out, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of left me, right, in the household to kind of, in a way, that burden to kind of take care of my family, to kind of still be able to provide for them a little bit more here and there.
You are like the child left that has to
kind of take care of it, right? So recently as well, like I've had to do this very difficult conversation with my sisters to be like, hey, like our parents shouldn't be working anymore because they're honestly like at an age where they should be retiring, right? But obviously I can't support them on my own.
Yeah.
And that's where, having 3 sisters, I guess as the person that's left back here to kind of see it in person a lot more, I have to kind of start a conversation with them, right? So it was a difficult conversation, honestly speaking. Still kind of working out the kinks of how we can kind of provide for the family a little bit more as like a unit in a way.
Yep.
So also very afraid and very anxious about how that will translate into like family interactions going into the holidays, right? But it is a little bit like
tough right now.
Right now, definitely, right?
Yeah.
Because I think talking about money and talking about expenses is always going to be a tricky one.
Always. Doesn't matter how close you are
Doesn't matter.
with your family members, but once money is involved, it changes things. It changes people as well.
Yeah. Because everyone, like my sisters have children, right? So they're going to have priorities to kind of take care of their own kids. And I don't blame them for any of this, right? It makes sense why they would do it.
Yep.
But yeah, it is going to be a difficult it is still a difficult conversation and still kind of working out the kinks. So that is the family dynamic at the moment, right?
Do you feel that there is an apparent shift before that conversation and after that conversation? You actually feel like the shift in dynamics and the way you guys communicate?
Yes. I think because growing up, and this is like purely just since I was a kid as well.
Yeah.
My family isn't very close.
Right.
So we come back from school or whatever, everyone just kind of goes into their room and we don't interact with each other. I think in the rare occasions I interact with like the youngest of the three sisters.
Yep.
And we would make jokes. We would play WWF back then in the PS1. And we would literally just like jump on each other, like elbows straight.
Okay.
Like typical sibling stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We would also sing like High School Musical songs and kind of act out very dramatically.
Right.
Cute, yeah. So I'm closer with her.
Yeah.
Right. The other two sisters are a little bit much older than me.
Yeah.
I think one's 8 and one's 11 years older than me.
Okay, that's quite a far gap.
Quite a far gap.
Yeah.
So I'm not as close to them. But nevertheless, I think over time as well, even though me and my sister, the youngest of the three sisters, is close, we do drift apart. Right?
Yeah.
And we just don't interact with each other at all almost, and we just don't talk unless like suddenly there's like a big family gathering.
Right.
And this is still within the nuclear family, right?
Yeah.
So to a lot of people, that's a bit weird, I would say. But recently, after we had this conversation, it brought up issues, but in a way, I think to some of us, like it brought some of us closer together also. Like it's problems or it's discussions that need to happen. Right?
Yep.
So yeah, like maybe you could argue like, oh yeah, because there is like a little bit of conflict between the other sister, and maybe that's why you're closer by trauma bonding in a way as well.
You guys are on, some of you are on the
one
same
side,
team,
essentially, right?
On the other
That
team.
it's going to happen, right? It's very normal. It's very normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in a way, it does, very weird way bring us together. But there is a big shift, I think, and it is a shift that I feel needs to happen one way or another.
Yeah.
So it will be very interesting and very worried, but kind of hopeful. Obviously, to see it get better as well.
Yeah, and I guess like that's what they say, right? Like adversity brings out like new ways, like better outcome. I don't know. I'm butchering the phrase, right? But when there is adversity, there is always like a better outcome.
It's like a common enemy.
Yeah,
right?
There's a silver lining somewhere. Okay. Thank you very much for sharing. What about extended? You want to talk about extended family first?
You can go ahead with your like nuclear family.
My nuclear family. Okay, so I am also like the only child in Malaysia right now with my parents. So I only have an older brother. He's 7 years older. But he has migrated to Ireland with his wife. My parents and I actually visited them earlier this year, mid this year, and we had a good time. Well, we kind of a good time. What that means is because I think very similar to you, Fabian. My parents and my family and I, we have a more of a conventional family, very like traditional. So I wouldn't say my parents are very traditional. My parents are very conventional, in the sense that they are hardworking people. They love by showing service and by providing stuff like household, making sure that we have good education and all of that. But they are not like lovey-dovey, huggy, say I love you. Like I've never heard my parents say I love you to me until like recently. So I think the interactions with and because of that, I think growing up, I have been very much I use this word a lot, like parentified early on. Like I became independent very, very early. And good thing it has made me who I am today, like an independent person. I can like survive. I think I'm a bit scaredy cat, but I can survive enough. But at the same time, because I didn't have like that core childhood years, it has also made me like a person who is afraid of relationship. So I have learned to I have learned not to worry my parents. So what that looks like is actually not sharing a lot of things with them. So I'm not sure about you, but like I don't tell my parents, hey, I don't feel good today.
Oh, hell.
Or like, oh, I really like this guy. I never had that relationship with my parents. Never. And I think because my parents are conventional, right? So they have kept me in a bubble in a sense. So like I've never gone to like bars until I worked with you guys in 2019. That's when I first drank alcohol. That's when I first went to a bar. I've never learned how to smoke, or I've never dated till actually in my university years. So and because of that, like my parents actually never knew all of that. So how I deem or how I term my relationship with my parents right now, we are cordial. I try to visit them. They live in Cheras. I live in PJ area, pretty far because of traffic and all of that. So I try to have dinner with them once a week, once in 2 weeks. Try to have a conversation, but again, because we are not used to it, right? So whenever I want to have questions, it's more of me asking them, like, how was your week? How was church? How was uncle, auntie, or whatnot? Trying to make conversations, but then the reciprocity is not given. Like they don't ask me, or if they were to ask me how's work, I would give a very like overall answer, because I have experience whenever I tried to share, there wasn't
Response.
the response were not what I was expecting, or was it opposite. So it kind of like broke my heart and disappointed me a lot. So I think that's why I also learned not to like share a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I am with my parents. With my brother, because I actually don't, I also did not grow up with him. 7 years older, but we were brought up differently when we were younger. And then when we came to KL, he was already like in his high school, like secondary school, right? Like when he was 13, I was only 6. So he was a cool kid, and I was like the cute, annoying sister. Cute, annoying sister. And we never really developed that relationship until a couple of years ago, when we both were both adults, where we shared a lot like similarities in terms of work. And I think my sister-in-law came into picture. So I was closer to my sister-in-law, and because of that, I got closer to my brother as well. So and I knew how he have helped me and protected me and spoke to my parents about me. But our relationship, again, like we don't call each other up to be like, hey, I really have a difficult day. But when there is something that's happening or there is an issue, we know that we can find each other lah. So again, so that's like my current interactions with my nuclear family.
It is. I mean, it's a lot smaller family, obviously.
Yeah, very much smaller, but not that close. I like a lot of people would imagine if you have a smaller family,
It
you'd
would
be
be a
like
little bit-
more closer, more tight knit. But I think it's just because of the way things were when I was growing up. My parents were working in KL, and I was brought up in Malacca by another family. So that core years of like 0 to like 6, my parents weren't around. They were around only for weekends. Like I only see them like 2 days, 2.5 days out of the 7 days. So then that's where I think a lot of this childhood trauma or lack of childhood. Mine was more of like the lack of childhood. Has affected my outer adult right now, and that's where I'm trying to heal from. Yeah.
I think, and this is an interesting question I was thinking about as well. Like, how do you kind of navigate that conversation of how are you to your parents? Because in my head, I was always thinking about that as well. How do I have a normal conversation with my parents, knowing that there is trauma, knowing that they're like being brought up in such an environment, at least for me as well, where like verbal abuse, physical abuse was some physical abuse like caning and all that, right? Not too bad in a way. But
Normal corporal
normal
punishment.
corporal punishment.
Normal for Asians.
Normal for Asians. Yeah. Like that, like verbal abuse, obviously, and all these kind of just like not great experience as a kid, right? How do you then navigate that "how are you" conversation with your own parents, right?
Very interesting. I think for me, I try to ask or connect in the way that they know how to. So that means what that looks like is, because how they know love is by showing acts of services, right? So I ask them lah, have they eaten? Do they have anything? Do you want me to buy anything? I know my parents are trying to get healthier because they're getting older, right? My dad has high cholesterol, so I ask like, how's his cholesterol? Do you like, or like when I find a snack that is like lower calorie, but because my dad is also like a sweet tooth person, so I will say like, oh, I got this now, and I buy it for them. So I think that's how I try to
ask how are you without
correct.
actually just how are you.
Because one is awkward, but two, I think I don't think my parents have the vocabulary. I think same thing with me, right? If they were to ask me, I don't have the vocabulary to answer them, just because it's not say I do not know how to answer. If you ask me, or like how you asked me earlier today, right? Like in this podcast, like how's life? I'm able to answer very genuine, very authentic, very like no holds bar, right? But I think with my parents is a bit harder, because I don't have the vocabulary and because they don't have the vocabulary. So I use the way that they know how to.
Yeah, I think for me as well, I'm trying to navigate that conversation. I would play that conversation in my head, right? And I was thinking like, if I were to bring up like how are you or these kind of problems, or like allow them to kind of talk about issues and all that, I'm then expected to solve it. I mean, them expected to fix it, right? Which I, in a way, am afraid of, putting that burden on myself, which I shouldn't be putting that burden on myself in the first place. So like, how do you then ask that question without asking the question, or rather like, how do you kind of set that boundary, right?
But question to you, when you say that, if you were to bring it up, then it might be your burden or responsibility to bear, right? Is it true that it is your burden and responsibility to bear, and they are expecting you, or you are putting that assumption that you will bear that burden and responsibility?
Good question. I don't know. I think, well, is it true or not is also a very difficult question to answer. Right? Do I ask them like, hey, do you expect me to like pay for you or whatever, for example? It's like, hey, I don't have this, I don't have that. It's like, you want me to buy it? I think, honestly speaking, they might say yes, and then like if they say yes, then shit's on me now, right?
And you don't think there's room for negotiation.
I mean, I don't know, right? I think until we have that conversation, we get there kind of thing. Then we can kind of see where things go.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, how do I have that conversation with my parents? I think I had that conversation with my parents when I first started working, and then I asked them, do they need me to give them pocket money? And I think also that was like when I first started got my new job during Christmas/Chinese New Year, I started giving ang pao to my parents, right? Then I asked them like, actually, like, do you have money every month? And my parents were still working then, and they have pension. My dad has pension for 5 years already. He has stopped working for 5 years. My mom 3 years. But because I know that they are government servants, and I know they have pension, but I did not know how much was their pension, right? So then I think it was only then, like during Chinese New Year, when I was working, I did ask them, and then they said like, no, it's okay, we have enough. Then I said like, okay, how much is enough? And they tell me the amount, and I was like, you sure? And then and I'm pretty sure lah. I just had to ask them, right? Like that as courtesy and for confirmation. And from there, only the conversation about money is a little bit more okay. Yeah, because they also ask me like, do you have enough? Do you need me to give you money? I'm like, no, your money is yours. Like you have worked enough, and now you should enjoy the labor of your the fruits of your labor, right? Like all the times that you sacrifice, you didn't go for holiday, blah blah blah. And I think that's where we talk about money. So I'm not sure if that's helpful for you.
Interesting one. Yeah, because I don't know if my parents have enough, so to speak, right? A little bit of background on that as well is that my parents, didn't finish like university or things like that. They stopped at high school, or I think my dad didn't finish high school. So education was very limited.
Right.
Right. They came to KL to find work, and I think stepping out of that bubble of like the hometowns and stuff like to come into KL as well was a big step.
Yeah.
So I don't believe they don't have insurance, for example, right? They don't believe in it. I think most of their money is from just savings. So that's always going to be a tricky one, and I don't know how to navigate that.
Yeah.
But I think it was on me to kind of start the conversation with them, right? I've started this conversation with my sisters. I think it's also kind of on me to, at this point, start it with them as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Money is a very difficult conversation, but I think it's necessary. Maybe you can use, like, for example, the fact that you help to pay for your grandma stuff and for like insurance. Maybe you want to ask them like, do you what's your insurance policy? Like how is it like? It's like a small starting point to grow from there, because then only like, okay, do you want me to help to pay that policy? Because if you don't have a policy, then it's a bigger deal if you were to fall sick, right?
100%.
So yeah.
I think apparently it's not just me, but like quite a lot of people that I've talked to as well, right? Like if like families or parents still have that mindset of like, my children were like investments.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. So they were banking on their kids to provide for them as they grow older as well.
Yeah.
So it is that weird conversation to be like, yes, we want to be able to support you, but within means, right?
Correct. Yeah. And I actually don't believe in that principle.
Oh, 100%. I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
But I think it's what, even because right now, even for example, right, I wouldn't say like generationally, but it's more like the issues of the time. So for example, when I'm working with like families in Cambodia, when I'm doing like mission trips and things like that, it's a very common thing, because in the more rural and the more I guess like low income, or even just like the very, how do I say,
a typical family unit, like
in the more rural aspects of like Cambodia, for example, where it's difficult to have like a normal family, a more like traditional modern family that we are seeing over here, right? The more kids you have, the more people are able to kind of help on the field. Quite literally. Like very literally helping on the field with rubber plantations and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So with that, like the more people they have, yes, a little bit more on like the more mouths you have to feed, but also like more income to the family.
Makes sense.
So they are expected to kind of invest their time and energy back into the family.
Yeah, the children are expected to do that.
Yeah, the children are. I think maybe not that extreme of an example, but in our parents' time, that was kind of it, right?
Yeah, it totally makes sense, because that's how families are sustained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like probably their parents had that same mindset as well. So it was kind of passed down to them. And it's such a big, and I only realized this very recently as well. It's such a big change from our parents' generation of like what was important, what was their priorities towards ours. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different, like World War II wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
it is something that in a way, maybe we have to kind of teach our parents a little bit, or just kind of help them reprioritize, help them understand that there are other priorities out there.
Yeah, and I think also maybe to help them understand where we are coming from. I think parents, we cannot change other people, right? Like the only thing that we can change is our own thoughts and our own behaviors, right? But I think there is opportunity to open up different perspectives, and I think our parents are wise people. They have gone through stuff.
Yeah.
They, even though it's their first time living life as well, right? But I think that there is opportunity to like open up that perspective and open up that discussion to help them, to give them a different perspective, that how we see things might be different from what they see, how they see things, but neither of us are wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times where things get very like combative is because we want to be right, and they also think that they are right.
Yep.
Yeah, because then they say like they makan more garam, you know, they have more experience and all that, which is true. Which is true. But that doesn't mean that we are also wrong, right? Like, but it's just coming from different perspective, different responsibility, different priorities in life. And I think glad that both of us are on the same page, where having children and children should want to provide for their parents, but they are not obliged
100%
to do that, right? Like I think it should be an honor for us to be able to support our parents, love them, and care for them like how they cared for us when we were younger. But it shouldn't be an obligation.
It shouldn't be an obligation. It should be a want, right? And I think for me as well, it's like, yes, it was a difficult childhood growing up and things like that, but I think a part of me believes that, you know, I want to be able to provide for my own family, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's an obligation. Maybe a little bit, I don't know, a little bit as the only child and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
My only son and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But to a large extent, they brought me to where I am today,
Yeah.
right? Through maybe not the best ways, but it brought me to where I am today.
To where you are.
And it kept me alive long enough, right?
Yeah. You survived this far.
I survived this far.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. It's not that bad, honestly.
Yeah.
So I think to a large extent, I do owe them for that.
Yeah.
Right. Not in terms of obligation, but in terms of like, I want to be able to pay back.
Yeah. I think we in us, or in the younger generation, trying to find their voice and trying to find this like work-life balance and priorities and their own rights, we sometimes tend to forget that our parents are humans too. That our parents are also living their life the first time. It's the first time that they're being a parent. Yes.
Yeah.
Like for example, like they are not the first time being a parent to me, right? Because I have a brother and you had 3 sisters. But it's their first time being a parent to like 4 children.
Kids, to
2 children, and then figuring out the dynamics. So I think that's something to.
And even going into like the more modern timeline of things, right? It's the first time they're going through like retirement.
Correct.
Their first time like getting so old to a point where they can't work anymore.
Correct.
They have to face the facts and face reality that they need to be dependent.
Yeah, and that's a scary transition.
So scary.
Yeah. From being like the provider of the family to now having to listen to my child and having to agree that, oh, my child actually is correct.
Yeah.
I think that is like, come on, like at work when someone else's go against our ideas and say like your idea sucks, we get offended, right? 100%. And we get like taken aback. What more our parents who have brought us up
have literally taught us everything that we know, kind of, in a way. Like they believe they taught us everything that we know. To now hear it from them to be like, you are wrong.
Yeah, please listen to us. You know, we know now better.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's very hard for them.
100%. It's very funny because, like, I guess to a certain extent, that this is the point where they wanted us to get to.
Yeah.
They want us to be successful.
Correct.
They want us to be smarter than
but
them.
When we do it, and we tell them that,
suddenly it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a big ego thing, I think. Both sides. I mean, like from our parents' side, obviously, I think everyone has. You can't say you don't have an ego.
No.
I think it's impossible to say you don't have an ego.
No. Everybody has.
Everybody has
the kindest, nicest people they have.
And I think with that as well, obviously, we kind of have to navigate through our own egos and navigate through theirs as well. Like navigating through our egos is like, you know, facing the facts that, yes, like it was difficult. For example, for me, it's like difficult growing up, whatever, right? But they still brought me to where I am.
Yeah.
And I should still hold a little bit of that responsibility of that one to provide back.
Yeah.
Right. Not out of like, oh, I'm now earning more, I'm now better, or whatever, but it's just that they need us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of just putting down all the problems aside and be like, hey, you're my parents in the end, right?
Yeah.
And them as well as kind of facing the facts of like, yes, your child is not having, you have to be dependent, right?
Yeah. Talking about the ego thingy, I think it's more to like a lot of times I think we get sidetracked by the small problems, by like this miscommunication, by the expectations of society that we put on ourselves.
Yep.
But I think when push comes to shove, and if we actually, if it boils down to like that, the real core thing that is important, I think then that's where we can truly be honest to ourselves and say that, okay, yes, we are better than them. We are correct in this situation, but my parents are my parents. They can't change. And I have to circumvent the situation and figure out other solutions to deal with that problem.
Yeah, it's not about being right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's about just making life a little bit better for everyone.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's much easier if like we can prove our point, right? Because we are right?
I mean, I guess in a way, right? But yeah, the most important thing is just we want life to be better for me, for them, for everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
And sometimes they don't see it that way.
They still see us as that rebellious kid or whatever.
Yeah, correct. And I think that's where the tug of war and the friction happens. But I think that's where we want to talk more about, right? Like, how do we actually reduce this friction as we communicate with them, as we deal with like the small comments that they make, and the rifts and the small like rifts that happen in those like small, major, and minor interactions that we have. Yeah.
Cool. So I think kind of closing up because I think we're running out of time a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think we'll definitely talk about this a little bit more in the next couple of episodes. I think it is a very, very big topic, right?
Yeah.
How do we navigate like family interactions, right?
Yep.
Not just on a nuclear family level, but also like extended family. I think that is a bigger topic going into like Chinese New Year's or Raya and things like that as well. But we'll start with within arm's reach.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe with in preparation for the next episode, you guys, I would encourage you to reflect, like how has your interactions and the love languages and how you speak to your nuclear family. When you think about it, think about like the thoughts that ran into your head. Think about the emotions that has happened, right? Whether be it good or even both positive and negative experiences, so that you can, once you start reflecting, you can see where a lot of the things stem from.
100%. I think there is a lot of space for, I mean, it's possible to have healthy interactions. Just say that, right? I think a lot of people have come to that point where they're a little bit jaded or a bit just given up on their family. But I think blood is blood in a way. Like family is family. You can't run away from it as much as you want to.
Interesting. I have a different take on that. Maybe we can talk about it.
To talk about another episode.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Asian in me. Or Asian outside of me also. But yeah, I mean, I think there is a possibility to kind of mend relationships, right? And
no, that's totally true.
Yeah.
Like there's always room for, I think, our ability and our capability to forgive and to love, it's unlimited. It's just whether like our ego and our consciousness wants to do it. And a lot of times we don't want to do it because it's easier to like ignore. It's easier to hate and be angry, right? It's harder to forgive. It's harder to be kind and love and do more.
I have to be nice to people.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah. But with that also, that's why why I agree with you, like we have capacity to mend relationships.
I see where you're going with this, yeah.
But I also then have the opposite thought of like, sometimes, yes, blood is blood, family is family, But sometimes, like, you have to cut certain family member out if the relationship is unhealthy.
Yeah. Like at a point, there will be a point where, and maybe this is going into a different tangent, hopefully not too long. We'll talk about it in more episodes.
Yeah.
There will become to a point where you've done everything you can.
Yep.
And the best you could do is create space.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right.
Agreed. Boundaries.
Yeah, boundaries. You have to kind of protect yourself a little bit as well.
Yeah. Agreed. Cool. So I hope that kind of is a good teaser to the longer conversation. But I really hope that this serves like as a reminder or a good time for you to reflect what's been going on within yourself and within your family members. Then we can come back next week and we can talk more about how do we deal with these kind of interactions and what are the different dynamics.
Yeah. I think, with that, hope to see you guys in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.